I love cherries. If you want a cherry tree in your yard like me, stick around. Today, I'm planting one on my new espalier. We'll go over how, when, and where to plant, along with soil prep, watering, fertilizer, chill zones, pollination, and variety tips. Hi guys, I'm April from Resprout. Like and subscribe for more garden tips and tutorials for my suburban front yard garden where I help you garden like a boss. Before we dive into planting, I always like to explain a little bit about the plant first so we know what we're getting into here. Cherry trees are deciduous trees, meaning they lose their leaves every year. In the spring, they grow gorgeous white or pink flowers, so definitely a valuable landscape tree in its own right. Depending on whether you have a dwarf, semi-dwarf, or full-size variety and how you prune it, cherries can grow 8 to 30 feet high with the same width. Like most fruit trees, their size is controlled by their rootstock, the type of roots that the tree's been grafted onto. This can be a little confusing because you can buy the same variety with different rootstocks. I have a Lapins variety on a dwarf rootstock, so this guy should top out at 14 feet, but it's also available as semi-dwarf. Dwarf varieties like this one are also great if you want a potted patio plant. Cherry trees can live anywhere between 10 to 150 years. Big range, I realize, but this is based on its rootstock, whether or not it's on its own roots, and how kind your climate is to your new tree. If you're planting a 1 to 2 year old tree, you'll get cherries within 2 to 5 years. The cherry fruits, called drupes, are ready to harvest in midsummer and can be yellow red, bright red, or dark red, depending on the variety. Cherry trees are native to Europe, West Asia, and Northern Africa, so solid temperate climates. In the US, sweet cherries can be planted in zones 5 through 9 and tart cherries 4 through 8. Cherries are part of the Prunus plant genus, which encompasses other stone fruits like nectarines, plums, peaches, and almonds. None of these fruits do well in hot areas because to thrive, they require a certain amount of time every year in cold weather below 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Winter resets these trees. It's like their winter spa time. This yearly spa time is referred to as chill hours. Yo, please do not go to the nursery and ask about winter spa time because you did not hear this from me then. Sweet cherries usually need 700 to 800 hours per year, about 28 to 32 days in a row. Sour cherries need 1,200 hours, about 50 days. My Lapins cherry variety needs 400 chill hours, which is definitely above average, but that actually makes me feel better because our winters have been really mild lately. All cherries, whether they're tart or sweet, will produce more with another cherry tree. That being said, many tart cherries and some sweet cherries are self-fruitful, meaning they can produce fruit without a fruit buddy. Also, fruit buddy is another term you should not take to the nursery. That is just between you and me. The remaining cherry varieties that aren't self-fruitful, you'll need the aforementioned fruit buddy. Unfortunately, not just any old cherry tree will do. Tart and sweet cherries can't pollinate each other. Some varieties are universal pollinators, but some don't match up at all. Your best bet is to check out the plant tag, which will usually list A, if the tree needs a pollinator, and B, which varieties are recommended. My favorite source, online nurseries, do a really outstanding job listing all the varieties that will pollinate the one that you're looking at. Well-staffed local nurseries should be able to help you choose a matching variety too. In my case, my garden is small, so I really didn't have a lot of room to dedicate to 2 cherry trees. I did install 2 espalier trellises on my house, but I'm reserving that other one for a peach tree. So I specifically went shopping for a variety that didn't require a pollinator, and I got the Lapins cherry tree. Okay, so now that we have a good idea on all the different things to look for in a cherry tree, let's drill down on the different types and varieties and how to choose one. Cherries are in the rose plant family called Rosacea, and the genus is Prunus.
There are almost 50 species in the Prunus genus called cherry in some way.
Cherry blossom trees and weeping cherries, for instance, while beautiful and in the Prunus genus, do not produce good cherry fruits, if any. Dwarf cherries, Prunus fruticosa, and Nanking cherries, Prunus tomentosa, do produce a sour edible fruit, but not likely what most people think of when they say cherry. What we want are Prunus avium or Prunus cerasus. Prunus avium are the sweet cherries you see in the grocery store produce section and eat fresh. Prunus cereus are called sour, tart, or pie cherries, and they're used for baking, most famously cherry pies.
Once you decide if you're going to eat cherries fresh or bake with them, you can narrow down to sweet or tart.
Popular varieties of sweet cherries include Bing, Black Tartarian, and Rainier. Popular tart cherries include Montmorency, Meteor, and North Star. If you're looking for a yellow variety, check out Emperor Francis and Napoleon Royal Anne, both sweet cherries. And if you're looking for a sweet cherry that doesn't require pollination like me, Lapins and Stella are both great options.
If you want a full variety list broken down by zones, chill hours, type, fruit color, and fruit sizes, and links to purchase, check out my website. And if you guys have had luck with a particular variety, let us all know about it in the comments and your climate.
Let's talk about planting from seed, because I know there's going to be some questions. Can you plant a cherry seed? Yes. It is less expensive than buying a tree, but there's a lot of extra steps, like crazy steps involving pliers, cold stratifying, and just babying the thing forever, and then just the years of waiting. Plus, unless you're very sure of the donor tree, its variety, and whether it's on a rootstock, there is going to be a lot of questions about how this tree is going to turn out when it's mature. So my opinion is, if you don't have the time or the room to spare, buy the right tree, the right rootstock, and the right variety from the beginning. Now that we have our cherry tree, the next thing we need to do is find a good location. First off, if you're planting a pollinated variety, make sure the two trees are within 100 feet of each other. Like most fruit trees, cherries do best with full sun, which is minimum of 6 hours of direct sun, preferably 8. Not dappled sun, not indirect sun, reflecting off the side of your house, but full on beach sun that is going to burn you if you forget your sunscreen. That is direct sun. If you can put it in an area where it's protected from wind, even better. Sweet cherries, because they flower early in spring, are prone to frost damage. So if you have a choice, also avoid low spots or other microclimates on your property that might be colder than other areas. This area on the front of my house gets blasted by sun all day. That's why my garden's in my front yard. Also, because it's on this wall, it'll be protected by wind. The warmth from the brick wall will protect it from cold. Because they're prone to root rot, cherries do best in well-draining but moist soil.
Some examples of bad draining soil include clay soil and rocky soil, which both hold onto water for a long time. On the other hand, sandy soil drains too quickly, leaving the soil dry.
If you can't plant in another spot, the solution to both of these problems is adding compost to the soil. I have 2 compost bins running at all times, and compost is my favorite amendment. There is just no better example of upcycling than taking food and yard waste and turning it into premium garden amendments. You can also add other types of organic matter like leaves, straw, or wood chips, as long as you have time to wait for it to decompose before planting, minimum 1 year. All organic matter is going to add nutrients to the soil, so extra bonus there. It's really tough to change the surrounding soil pH once the tree is in the ground because you don't want to disturb the roots. So for perennials like fruit trees, it's especially important to get the soil pH right in the beginning. You can use a liquid test kit or a digital pH tester to see where your soil is currently. Make sure to test multiple places around the area you plan on planting. Cherries prefer a slightly acidic soil with a pH between 6.2 to 6.8. If your soil is higher than this, add sulfur or a soil acidifier. If it's lower, add lime. Make sure to work all the amendments, including any organic matter, into the soil at least several inches with a garden fork or shovel. One thing you don't need to worry about adding at planting time is fertilizer. Cherry trees don't actually require a lot of fertilizer. They're considered light feeders. Unless you've done a soil test or have reason to believe your soil is seriously lacking, you won't need to add fertilizer until the tree starts bearing fruit. Or if you don't see a lot of green growth the first spring after planting, you can start fertilizing annually. As with most things, the best time to plant cherry trees is in the spring. preferably early to mid-spring before the buds break on the dormant tree.
I don't know if you guys are like me, but spring is a little busy. All these checklists and nurseries and plant tags want you to do everything in spring, but I'm sorry, I can't do everything in spring.
So if that's your situation too, good news is that cherry trees can be planted anytime the soil can be worked. So no, not when the ground is frozen, not when it's covered with 2 feet of snow, or when it's a muddy, compacted mess from 3 days of rain, but if your soil is dry or moist and can be dug, you are good to go.
It's fall here in US Zone 7A, and I'm going to be planting my dormant cherry tree. If you plan to plant in the cold like me, one word about that.
You don't want the roots exposed to freezing temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. So if it's super cold, just wait for a warmer day and make sure to get the plants in the ground as soon as possible to prevent root injury.
Where exactly you put your tree in your planting area depends on how big you think your cherry tree is going to grow.
The best source for this info is the nursery or the plant tag that came with your tree. If you don't have that, you can estimate based on the rootstock. Dwarf, sweet, and sour cherries should be spaced 8 to 10 feet apart. Semi-dwarf sweet, 15 to 18 feet. And sour cherries, 12 to 15 feet apart. And full-size sweet cherries, 18 to 25 feet. And full-size sour cherries, 15 to 18 feet apart.
My tree is a dwarf, and I'm actually going to be planting it flat on this frame on the front of my house.
This is a technique called espalier, and it saves a lot of room.
My garden's not tiny, but it is smaller than all the ideas I have, so I am super excited to try this out.
If you're doing espalier, you can space your cherry tree much closer to other espaliers than a standard tree. The exact distance will depend on the design you choose. It should be 6 to 12 inches away from the wall or frame though. And I'll be keeping all my herbs here in front of it too, though I'm probably gonna transplant this currant bush.
I am not an expert in espalier, but definitely let me know down in the comments if you guys want me to update you on this journey and what your questions are. And also comment if you've done espalier before and you have tips, because I have a lot of questions.
I'm gonna be doing the same thing with a peach tree on the other side of this window, so I should have some good info to share as early as next year on this whole process.
Once you got your spot, it's time to dig the hole.
If your tree is potted like mine, dig the hole about 1.5 to 2 times the pot size. Pull the tree out of the pot and break apart the roots a bit to encourage them to grow into the surrounding soil. Place the soil and roots into the hole, keeping the soil in the pot the same level as your planting site. For bare root trees, make the hole about 2 feet deep by 2 feet wide. Soak the roots of bare root trees for several hours ahead of time. Then make sure the roots are well spread out in the hole. Backfill the hole with whatever soil you removed from the area, hopefully previously amended. For both bare root and potted, it's important to make sure the graft union, where the cherry tree is grafted to its rootstock at the bottom part of the tree, is at least 1 to 2 inches above the ground. You can usually tell where the union is because there's a big bump, or sometimes the bottom portion is larger or looks like a different quality, which it is.
The reason we want to make sure that's above the soil line is because we don't want the top portion of the tree to set roots in the ground.
We just want the rootstock to grow roots. Once that's done, tamp the soil down to remove any air pockets. Once your tree is in the ground, either bare root or potted, water it well. This reduces transplant shock for the roots and settles the soil. If you notice the water is not staying around the tree, you can also build a little soil hill around the tree at this point. This will help keep the water in place while it sinks into the ground. Cherry trees need about 1 inch of water every 10 days or so. They don't like waterlogged soil though, so a good way to tell if you've watered enough is to stick your finger in the soil. It should feel moist several inches down. Mulching your cherry tree is another way to prevent water runoff and conserve moisture. An added bonus is that it also reduces weed or grass growth around your tree where it could compete with the new tree roots. When you apply mulch, make sure to keep it away from the base of the tree where it could cause rotting or fungal growth. My favorite mulch materials are wood chips, leaves, or coarse compost, but you can use any rough organic material you have access to, like straw or bark.
And with that, our cherry tree is successfully planted. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to hear about next on these cherries. Stay tuned for videos on harvesting, pruning, and how exactly I'm gonna get this thing to grow on this trellis.
I hope this video helped you out. Remember to sign up for my email newsletter for more garden resources. And keep gardening like a boss, and I'll see you guys soon.